Hey, this is Kathryn.
And this is Katy, and we had the opportunity to go to 2 different operas at 2 of the most famous theaters in Russia. We saw the Tsar's Bride at the Bolshoi Theater in Moscow and Sadko at the Mariinsky in St. Petersburg.
And we were originally going to do a versus video where I represented either the Bolshoi or the Mariinsky and she represented the other, and we were going to battle it out about who's better because there are varying opinions in Russia. Except we were very underwhelmed with the performance of Sadko. So we're just going to go through both and do a review.
There are a lot of reasons that Sadko is kind of overwhelming compared to the Bolshoi. But the storylines are pretty similar. They're both Rimsky-Korsakov operas, and they're both very Russian in story. They're very culturally loaded, so we feel like we probably missed a lot of the cultural elements towards the story.
Sadko is a fairy tale about the origin of the main river, Novgorod, and it has a lot of fairy tale elements, and part of that we thought was really good was that it was a children's performance. It was aimed at a lot of children. It was,
It was a matinee.
Matinee, thank you. It was a performance. So we took that into consideration because the matinee performance at the Bolshoi was a lot weaker than the Tsar's Bride too.
But for being a children's play, a children's story, Sadko actually had some pretty adult elements. The main character actually committed adultery and fell in love with a woman who was not his wife, which we felt was not really a child-friendly sort of theme. Yeah, especially since the main character is typically supposed to be a more likable one, and that just really made Sadko, the main character, kind of seem a little eviler than we really would have thought in a children's play.
One thing we didn't really like about Sadko was that the opera is split into 7 scenes, or 7 acts, which makes it a little harder to divide up with intermissions and such. In our performance, we saw the first 3 scenes, then there was an intermission, then 1 scene, an intermission, and then the last 3 together. And it just made for an awkward transition. We weren't really sure when intermission was and when they were changing sets, so you just had to sit there, and it was awkward.
But when they were changing the sets were pretty well done. I feel like we would have appreciated them a lot more had we not already gone to the Bolshoi and seen such cool sets. They were pretty 3D and they were really cool. They had a lot of folk painting in there, which went back to the theme of the play, the more folksy kind of feel. And they were really cool. They were really well done.
One of our favorites was the underwater, the Sea Kingdom scene. It was really cool how they had the light. They had this green light shining over the whole thing, and it made it seem like it was underwater, and that was very well done. There were fish flying around, but I wish they had had more of the fish floating around. That was a very cool element, and I thought they could have incorporated more of that.
Yeah.
They did have a lot of modern technology. They used, when Sadko was singing by the lake, they had the Sea King come up through one of the trapdoors on this elevated platform, a lot of fog, and you didn't see that at the Bolshoi because it's an older theater, and this we didn't even go to the real Bolshoi.
Right.
So that was a plus for the Mariinsky.
Yeah, that was very cool. Also there was a ballet in the one at the Mariinsky in Sadko, which I appreciated because I was pretty upset that we didn't get to see a ballet the whole time we're here. And even though the ballet itself wasn't all that well done, it was still really cool just to see, and it was cool because it made it more of an interdisciplinary play.
And it was nice because it really brought the kids in, I thought. But as far as a ballet goes, I mean, the Mariinsky has one of the best troupes in the world. Yeah. It's this huge ballet theater, and I wasn't overly impressed with the dancing. There was a lot of unsynchronization. The lifts weren't very innovative or even well executed, I thought. But it was a nice thought. It was a lot of potential. The play had a lot of potential, and I didn't think it lived up to it.
Well, another kind of disappointing thing was the actual singing itself. For an opera and for such an impressive and world-renowned troupe, the singing was just a lot of a letdown. The rhythms, not all the singers could really get the rhythms right, and the volume levels weren't very well balanced. The orchestra was always overpowering the vocals, especially because a lot of the times the chorus members had to be off stage while the ballet was going on, and then just at other points there were a lot of chorus members and they weren't able to be on the stage and able to project to fill the theater, which was kind of a bad thing.
Also, I think part of that was the conductor was very short, so he had to be elevated so much, and the orchestra had to be up so much higher that the balance was thrown off.
Mm-hmm. But one of the great things about Tsar's Bride, moving to the performance we saw at the Bolshoi, their vocals on the other hand were really strong and they were really well done.
They were so amazing.
The balance was great and it was really, really good. So that also may have been a reason that we didn't really like Sadko, is because of the contrast and how awesome Tsar's Bride was.
One of my favorite parts of Tsar's Bride was when the choir first came out in the first scene, and it's 30 plus opera singers just come out on the stage and they're all belting, and it was just this amazing feeling in the performance.
Yeah.
And they all had those amazing, they had very intricate, super detailed costumes on, and I was so impressed with the costume work. I had no idea. Our whole class actually rented opera glasses.
Yeah.
And I was so glad we had those because you could see the detail on all the costumes.
Yeah, they were very historically accurate, or I would assume they're historically accurate. The whole play itself actually was very historically detailed, and they tried so hard to make sure that all of the detail was historically correct, because a lot of the story was based on the history of Imperial Russia and the sort of Tsars and things like that.
The last scene, the last act, is actually set in the Tsar's throne room, which is, as far as I know, almost exact replica of the Tsar's room in the Kremlin, which we weren't allowed to see on our tour because it's only for Parliament members.
Right.
But that was pretty cool being able to see it in an opera.
Yeah, all of the sets actually were absolutely incredible. They were a lot more 3D and a lot more finely done than the ones that we saw at Sadko. They were very 3D, and you really couldn't even tell that they were only painted. It was awesome.
2D parts put together with 3D parts. It was just incredible.
It was really well done. It also flowed a lot nicer in the Tsar's Bride that they had only one scene per act. So it flowed a lot better, and it's made the whole performance seem more even than Sadko did when they had a bunch of different scenes in different acts. So this one was just, they never changed the set unless it was during an intermission. So that made it a lot more even and a lot better as an audience member.
So overall, we both preferred Tsar's Bride much more. However, one of the downfalls I felt was that the Bolshoi, the real Bolshoi, is being worked on, is being renovated, and they're behind schedule. So it's unfortunate that we couldn't compare the theaters, because both theaters are just beautiful. Mariinsky was amazing to be in. We were both on the floor for both of them. So that would have been a nice addition. But I mean, the smaller, the new Bolshoi is so incredible.
So it's still really cool.
And it was my first time experiencing opera. I know you've seen some of a couple, and I was blown away by Tsar's Bride especially.
Yeah, but they were great, and we really enjoyed the opportunity to see both of them. So.